this nice vortex of energy for ourselves and for everybody that we're having on with us today, and all of you out there who hopefully are enjoying our podcast. Welcome in to Observing Consciousness. This is DJ, I'm Dana, and this is our beautiful guest today who will be on the show a lot with us because she's our extra secret weapon co-host, Alethea Shelton.
Crawford now.
Crawford! Alethea Crawford! Woo! Okay, yes.
So Alethea so I've known Alethea for close to 2 years. Coming up on 2 years.
Has it been that long?
We're coming up on 2 years,
Forever.
like right now.
2 years and many lives.
Yeah, 2 years and many lives. Yeah.
That should be a soap opera.
When I met Alethea, I was actually, I had lived in Southern California before I moved to Las Vegas, and when I was in Southern California, I found a lady that walked on my back for a massage, and I was flipping through Facebook like a year after I'd moved here, and I hadn't met anybody yet. I literally had made no friends, and I saw Alethea's ad for massage, and so I signed up to get a massage, and we yapped the entire time. Like, I think she usually puts a towel over your face when she turns you over and puts you on her back. She's like, "Do you even want this?" I'm like, "No, we need to go talk." we had an instant connection, and ever since, like, she's been my connection to literally all of my friends that I've made here. I call her she's an antenna. She's a magnifier for bringing in energy and amazing people. She owns a horse ranch where she's got a bunch of rescue horses, and then they'll take these horses in, they train them. And then they do Cirque du Soleil style acrobatics off the back of these horses. It's absolutely amazing. She owns a massage therapy studio. She's into sound healing. Jack of all.
I do it all.
Yeah. She's the jack of all trades.
Aquarium master.
Yeah, master of none, but that's not even true.
Master of all. She's like master of all.
You've got some high level mastery when it comes to your work. So welcome, and thank you for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're curious. So tell us whatever you want to tell us. I'm super curious how you got to horses. And this is observing consciousness. So we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we're going to tell all kinds of stories as we go through them. So
all right.
Tell us how you got where you're at.
So we want to go the horse route or just my?
Tell us whatever you want, whatever feels right.
Well, I got into horses around 10 years old. My mom married my stepdad, and he had horses, and I was absolutely terrified of them. If I was left alone in the pasture with them, I was screaming until somebody got me out. They scared me.
That's how I used to be with horses.
Yeah, very intimidated.
I'm gonna interrupt already. The very first time that I was that I was in the presence of a horse and left kind of alone with it was my mom had moved out of her place, and she was renting her property to some friends, and they had a horse, and this kid was 2 or 3 years old, sitting over by the horse, and I'd gone up to the horse and I pet it, kind of let it smell me, and I kind of pet its nose, and then the kid he was doing something, kind of got close to the fence, so I looked over to move the kid back, and this horse reached over and bit me in the back of the arm. I had to have it drained twice. It was just fluid inside of my arm. It was disgusting. I'm not a big horse fan. I love your horse.
Instant boundary.
Instant boundary. I've hung out with your horses are amazing, but your horses are like big dogs.
Yeah.
But anyways.
They're all dangerous. They can all be dangerous. We say our draft horses have they're 2,000-pound animals with sledgehammers attached to their feet. They kick you, they can kill you. It's scary, but. Working with the animals, it's just a mirror for life. They teach you everything as a child. They teach you empathy, and they teach you boundaries. They teach you compassion. They're mirrors for everything. Even getting into the levels I'm at now with training with them, I'll see parallels that go hand in hand with spirituality and life that are mirrored through lessons with my horses, and it's why I keep doing it. It's really cool to work with them.
How did you first overcome that fear that you initially had? How did that begin to merge with you?
My parents got me into riding, and for a while I was just learning on the ground how to brush them and walk them and things like that. And then my mom taught a student who was doing this thing called equestrian vaulting, which is acrobatics or gymnastics on a moving horse. And she invited me to go to the class. And I went to the class, and I was basically scared shitless, but that was, you learn, and you build. And I never went back to normal riding again, and I just kept vaulting. And then I became a competitor for 20 years and went all over the country and eventually met my business partner and started working with him.
Wow.
And-
So your mom was teaching the vaulting?
No, my mom had
It
a
took
student
you
who
to-
was taking the class, so my mom just took me to the class.
I got
Yeah.
it. I got it.
So you got into, now how many horses do you have on your ranch?
20.
And how big is your ranch?
It's a little less than 3 acres, so for Vegas, it's giant.
Ginormous, yeah. When you see a big horse ranch in the middle of Vegas, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Didn't realize this is out here. And so you got 20 horses, and do they all work in the shows?
Yeah.
And how many shows do you guys usually do?
So we're trying to get, our goal obviously is to have a big show on the Las Vegas Strip. If we're manifesting, that's where we're going, which we are.
You guys had that for a little while, right? You guys were working down at South Point for a little while.
We've performed on the Strip, never in a full like residency or
I
permanent
see.
situation. So right now we do free shows like a couple times a year at our ranch. We'll just have the community come out, people's eyes on us, gets us like tuned up for future shows, and then we throw a big party afterwards, bonfire.
Those parties are amazing.
Yeah.
By the way,
And,
yes.
I can attest to that.
Beautiful gathering of people always. It's like being in fairyland with
It's fun.
Alethea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get hired to do shows in other states too. So the like different events or arenas will bring us in. You know, we travel to like North Dakota, Texas, you know, California, wherever has the money that is interested in bringing Gladius in, we go travel there and we do it.
So is there anything new and exciting you guys are up to right now, or is it just you guys practicing for the next Gladius show at the ranch?
We're working on a live show that has been on and off trying to get solidified in Kansas City. So we'll see if that one pans out. That's for later this year. We have our annual Halloween show at the ranch, which is the weekend before Halloween. And then we are working with a network to try to get a reality show running on us, which if it happens, I mean, we've been talking about that for years, and we're like perfect reality show material.
And you guys were on that Go Big show, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we did.
yeah.
We've done that TV show.
That was
and
cool.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
cool.
I'd
Like,
love to
I
see
mean,
you
it's
on
like
there.
we talked about Dana's experience with the Rockstar
Yeah.
NXS show. We were like the first act cut off of the Go Big show too. Yeah.
We're gonna start a new club called the First People Cut Off Reality Shows Club.
Alethea she's got a very fascinating life. Her husband's getting ready to shoot at their ranch. They're going to shoot his first video, music video
Yeah.
of original music that he wrote. And they're going to be I mean, I'm not going to give too much away, but I'll
Yeah.
let you, if you wanted, whatever you want to talk about that. But she's got all kinds of
basically,
cool stuff going on.
he's got a new song that is suggestive that we should have horses in the video, and the song is roughly about making decisions for yourself and being brave enough to become enlightened and being enlightened. So in the video, I believe we will be the representation of that on the horses. So we're really excited. Yeah, it'll be really soon. This is nothing we have to wait too long for.
See the stuff that Alethea's into. It's fascinating. She's got a very fascinating life. So anyways, go back to where you're at.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I've been doing Gladius for a while. I competed for 20 years in vaulting, and then when I got out of that, you know, I graduated massage school. I went to massage school when I was 19.
When you say that you competed for 20 years, you glaze over that like it's nothing. What kind of, like, what are you doing on the back? I've seen the show. I've seen some of the tricks that these guys are doing. Like, explain to us a little bit about what goes on the backs of these horses.
You've seen like the really cool version, but competition is like a little bit not as cool.
Okay.
Like we're wearing spandex, unitards, and the crowd is very small, and it's a very controlled environment, and there's a lot of rules and a lot of politics. And my business partner Eric, I met him when I was like 16, and he is not the type of person that does well with like rules or anything like that. Like, so he's a very creative person, so he just really wanted to get out of that and start coming up with his own performance company. So I had met him, and I was all the way across the country in North Carolina going to massage school. He was in Colorado, and when I graduated massage school, I was 20, and he was like, you should move out here and start a performance company with me, because I think you're a great performer. And we were about to be dating at the time.
Love is in the air.
There was an attraction on a lot of levels.
Yeah. So
yeah, you were meant to.
So I ended up
partnering.
being like, yeah, let's do it. So I moved to Colorado, and I just started working on things with him, and we taught ourselves how to Roman ride, which is where you stand on 2 horses. Didn't, know what we were doing.
So that's not a vaulting trick? That's
No.
something you guys taught yourselves to do?
Yeah, and other
cool.
people do it, but
Okay.
we had never done it. So we were like learning all the ropes in that, coming up with all the creative things we could do. And then I, being the proactive doer that I am, I was like, we need a website. We need to do this. So I learned how to make websites, and I started a website for us. Started like reaching out, and I made like promotional packages, which are funny to look back at now because they're so like outdated. But we started getting booked at like different shows across the country. And then at one of the shows that we did several years later, the producer of an upcoming show called Cavalia, which was based in Quebec, and it was like Cirque du Soleil with horses. It became a very successful touring show, and they had 2 shows actually eventually. But we were hired to be in the original cast of that show. So Eric and I moved up to Quebec with one of our horses, and we did the 4-month creation of that show, went into the Big Top with them, and then toured for 2 years with them.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to see what it took to like create like a giant production, and be like involved in all of that.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
You guys put on a pretty big production yourselves at the ranch.
Yeah,
like,
you do.
For it being in our backyard, it's pretty badass.
It really is. It's magical. I always love to bring people to see, and they're like, wow. Yeah. And it's such a blessing for all of us to get to be a part of and watch.
I mean, if I was somebody that didn't do it, I would go.
Right?
Yeah, it's definitely worth going and watching. Like they have flamethrowers. It gets pretty intense. And the tricks, I mean, when you think of it, Eric's like this Viking from another world.
Yeah.
Like he's enormous, and he'll take, while he's Roman riding, so riding on the backs of 2 horses while standing up. At the same time, he'll also take one of the girls and lift them over his head while still riding. It's unbelievable to what this guy's capable of doing.
They decided this week that I should be that girl for this music video,
So
I'm like starting to fly that again after 10 years of not flying anything.
Back to flying.
Video of that.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's funny.
It is funny. Back to flying. Here it comes around in another circle.
Yeah.
And then, so now so what you do for that, you own that business. That takes up, how much of your time do you spend on the horses?
I mean, we spend everyday time, hours every day training. I would say setting aside like 3 to 4 hour block every day of horse training.
And then you mix on top of that a full-time massage therapist business.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to do full-time, but like I started my own business 1.5 years ago and got off of the strip. I was working at these big strip property spas and 5-star spas and dealing with Forbes and like, I'm a machine and this company owns me and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to like see my people and like leave for shows if I get booked and not have to like ask and beg and like go through this process. And I just wanted to kind of run the show more. So I was gonna leave. I got called back from COVID. They had our schedules crazy and I was like, I can't do this. So within 2 weeks after I got called back, I put in my notice and I had an audition set up at another hotel and I was like, I know that I'll pass it because I pass every massage audition.
Yeah.
And that hotel will only put me on 2 days and I can start this other thing over here, my own thing. And I won't be like, everything will be cool with money. And so I quit knowing that I would get that other job. And I didn't. And it was the universe telling me like, you're done. You're done with that. Yeah, go do it. Just jump into it. And so I did. And it's the best thing I've ever done in massage. Like
I've been watching that happen for you, and it's been really beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Because it was, you just believed in yourself. It was beautiful for me to watch and inspiring to watch you just, I believe in myself, jump off that cliff and just, detach yourself from that, source of financial stability.
Fear. And being scared.
Yeah. And I think we've all probably been through that before. I think you went through that with your merchandising job, disconnecting from a source of income.
Manufacturing for me, and it was disconnecting from, every month had to be better than the month before, and there was like nothing. There was no meat in the game for me. It was just, if I couldn't do better than the month before, then I was losing value for the company. It's like, are we never happy with ourselves? Can we never like reach a spot and be like, look at what we've done, like look at what we've accomplished? I mean, I worked for some companies that started out really small and got to like really big scaled areas, and it's like we never stopped and like smelled the roses. It was just always grind. And I was like, man,
and think about like that, that's like the energy that you're living in. So it's like the energy of not having enough.
And I perpetuate it.
And you're just perpetuating it. So it's like that's just.
Yeah, I have a company that thinks it never has enough, and I live in a life of me never having enough. And it's like I felt like they didn't pay me enough.
So you never have enough.
I never had enough, and it's like when I finally step back and for my own self, do I have enough? And it was like you always have what you need. You never, and it's like okay, stop worrying about the money. And it's like that all of a sudden money is not that important. It's just do what you love.
Yeah, and I don't even know that. I don't even know that. Like for me, I was like super confident. Like I wasn't like, oh, I got this, but like I have
passion.
But it's working
I felt
out.
Your passion for it, and we had that conversation. I remember.
Yeah.
We were both feeling that same exact feeling, and we were both like, we got to get out of that loop.
Yeah. And
we were both feeling, and it was what was inspiring too for a lot of us was to see how it grew. How it just you got that it came right in for you.
And I have like I just. Yeah, I can't sit in a situation that is like I know isn't the best for my growth, and like I tell myself all the time, I'm like I have these beliefs about the universe that we should all be here to do what we love, that there's always enough for everybody. So whether I feel it or not, like I have to go by those beliefs. That's my rule with myself. So I knew that I had to go not knowing what was next, because not knowing is really beautiful. Because it can bring in new things you didn't expect,
You've talked about, I don't know how many times you've talked about when you got to a point with the horses where you're like, we didn't know how we were going to feed the horses. It's like one thing is like stress, and you realized it always worked out. You always found a way, and it was like the stress wasn't serving you in any way, it was making things worse. But it was like cortisol, all that stuff being released into your system.
That's like, I told you that story the other day. DJ came over and was hanging out in my trailer, and I was telling him we had. In Gladius, my show, we had these investors come in back in 2012, and it was a whole thing. They put $10 million into our show. I moved all my friends to San Diego, and we started working on creation. The guy had a wife who was totally nuts, and like just kind of took over the show. It ended totally bad. Like they fired Eric, thought they could keep the cast. Everybody left. They got in a whole new cast. Opened the show, and within 1 month closed the show and stranded the cast in San Diego and the horses the big top tens. Everything was auctioned off. We were on the news. It was nuts. But we went back to Vegas with like our dreams crushed.
I remember
because like
when you went through that.
$10 million, it was everything we ever wanted. And it was crazy because there were a lot of lessons in that because, going in, it was like, egos started getting involved. Like I was like, oh, I need to be involved in this or this or this, and then everything was just vanished and gone, and I'm like, wow, none of it actually mattered,
Well, you realized you didn't control any of that stuff. You could only control you and what you were doing, and none of the other stuff was in your control, and you found out real fast that there's free will to do whatever they wanted because they were the ones with the money.
And before we went to San Diego, I worked at a spa with Dana, and where we met our little sister goddess circle and my other girlfriends, and I would go into work and just be like, God, it's so hard having these horses, and we were just scrounging for hay, and like all the time it's just like it's so hard, and we always got it together. We would have enough money to feed them, but it was like barely scraping by, And so when all this happened, and then we lost everything and came back to Vegas, we didn't know what to do. But I knew at that point that I had been living my life in a place of lacking, and that was why everything was a struggle. And I just let that shit go. And we literally just started digging holes in the dirt, and we put up these long metal poles, and we built these aerial rigs in the ranch property. And it was like Field of Dreams shit. Like if you build it, they will come. And at the beginning, we were doing like one free show every month, and for the community, and we started getting like this rolling ball of support. And then once that happened, we got gifted the costumes from the show because the costume designer was from Vegas, and she was cool, so cool. And then we got gifted the ability to use all the music for the show because the composer lives in Las Vegas, and he's so awesome. And so all of these gifts came out of it. And even though we didn't have any money, we were able to like make this show. that we never got to make with the money. So we then raised a Kickstarter to start it on our own, which we traveled and did a couple cities with that and came back and regrouped.
Damn, that's amazing.
I know we're bouncing off subjects here, but it's all connected.
It's
well,
all interconnected.
The message is
Yeah.
that you control the journey. You only control your part of the journey,
Yeah.
and your belief in that journey, what you believe, like the belief being 9/10 of your reality.
Yeah.
You believe that you were in struggle, so you were in struggle, and
Mm-hmm.
then once you like let that go, all of a sudden the struggle stopped. Look at all the gifts that came your way, and it was like,
Yeah.
and once you were in a place where you could accept stuff coming in, and say,
Yeah, and if we
really
can
an
fast
amazing
forward to the present moment, I was telling DJ that story because I feel like when you learn a lesson like that, you learn it in your body and your soul and your mind, and you don't go back. Like, you graduate a level is what I feel like in life. And so right now I'm at a place where I feel like I am graduating a level, another level, or about to, with my manifesting and things like that, and living in more alignment, like with my soul's purpose. And it's just really rad. And I'm trying to I am working on to embody this energy more consistently and constantly of flow and abundance and gratitude, to where that feeling is just creating quicker momentums in my life.
So when you say the word try, the subconscious doesn't understand try.
Right.
So
Uh-huh.
it doesn't understand try, it doesn't understand don't.
Right.
Like it needs there. You got to
has to
speak
be a
when you
direct-
manifest. You got to speak and
Yeah.
I'm not trying. I
Yes.
am doing.
Yes.
And that's like I only wanted to say that because I just recently learned that for myself. It's like the
Dude,
subconscious is a program that
Yes.
operates, and you have to talk to it the right way. Otherwise, it takes whatever it thinks you're saying. If it doesn't know, it's like, well, this is
And
I
it's
don't know.
it's
Try. I
feeling,
know.
too.
And I don't know. Don't.
Yeah.
But
and
I know
it's-
the other word you're saying.
you
You're
can't
saying the thing
fake-
you don't want. I know that.
And you can't fake feelings, right? You can't fake your
Emotion.
energy. It's like you have to embody the way that the energy that you want to project.
It's layers and layers.
Yeah.
It's all layers,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Manifestations. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us
That's an
modalities.
amazing
And this
story.
is what I'm most curious because I know that you've practiced, you've tried, you've worked with lots of different spiritual modalities in your journey, trying to figure out sense of self, who you were, what you're supposed to be doing, and the many times that you told me the times that you've veered off track, and it's like we can be awake, aware of ourselves, and still veer off track, still get back in that caught in that autopilot. So tell me about some of the different spiritual modalities that you've tried, and what's been beneficial, what hasn't, whatever you want to go.
Oh, through my whole life.
Yeah, because I know you've got a lot of them. This is
Yeah.
what I think this is what people will connect with. Is like because
Yeah.
you've got so many different avenues, spiritual avenues that you've connected with, and I personally I've only got a few.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, what drew you to massage school? Like, what drew you into the body work world and the energy work world?
Oh,
Same
well,
with his
it's
question.
so they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I was raised in a household of strong metaphysical beliefs. My mom, anything you can think of, astral projection, dream interpretation, tarot, all of that. It was imposed on me from the time I was born, And her mother, my grandmother, who I never met, she died before I was born, was extremely psychic and agoraphobic, wouldn't leave her house, but a very gifted woman who I feel connected to, but I never got to physically know her in this life. So, growing up, there was always open talk. There was crystals in the house and different things like that. When I was in high school, I was extremely into astrology. So into it, so into meditation and stuff like that. And then I got into a car accident when I was 17 where it was really bad with a semi-truck and I was ejected from the vehicle crazy. Nothing happened to me, but my grandmother ended up dying. Another lady died in the accident, and my whole family went through millions of surgeries and horrible, it was hard. And when my grandmother died, I was in massage school. Oh no, it was before massage school, but then I had gone to massage school and I started getting into mediumship. So I started reading these books, and I read this book called Questions from Earth, Answers from Heaven by Shar Margolis, and it was about how to train yourself to be connected, to do mediumship. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, and I really want to talk to my grandmother. So I wrote her a pen and paper letter because we didn't have anything else then. And it just said like, my name's Alethea, I really want to connect to my grandmother, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. Drop it in the mailbox. And then the next day...
Where'd you mail it?
Well, I was actually in Colorado at that time, I just remembered, so I was out of massage school. So I mailed it to New York. She was in New York, I was in Colorado.
Okay.
Dropped it in the mailbox. The next day, I get a phone call from my ex-boyfriend's mom. And she's like, Alethea, her name's Kanta. She was like, Alethea, this is crazy, but I just won, me and my husband won this free reading at this metaphysical fair. So I went to this reading, and she stopped in the middle of the reading, and she was like, do you know a girl named Alethea?
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, yeah. She's like, does she have a brother named Jason? She's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I have her grandmother May here with me, and she wants you to let them know that going on that trip and being in that accident was not their fault, and they're doing everything that they need to do, and they're going to live long and amazing lives, and she wants them to know that she loves them. And I was like, wow, I just dropped that letter in the mail yesterday. But it didn't come, the answer didn't come back from the author. The answer came back to me in spirit, you know?
That's amazing.
And that like really, I was like blown away, even though it was all my beliefs until that point. It was like an experience that really made me like believe. So I, you know, really love to get readings from people that I'm drawn to. That's something that has been a spiritual tool that helps me. And I don't know, I just, there's so many. Like I'm into meditation, I'm into yoga, I'm into all of it. I feel like there's, yeah, crystals. Yeah, I love using crystals in bodywork. You know?
What about rituals during ceremonies, like tie cutting ceremonies, things like that? Do you use those? Do you find those to be helpful?
I have done more than one cord cutting ceremony in my life.
Cord cutting, sorry, not tie cutting.
And they are super useful. They're so useful that like even, you know, if you don't have anybody that you use, there's short little cord cutting ceremonies on YouTube where it's like a little meditation where it's just a visualization. But I've done so many cord cuttings that like I know how to like sit, ground, connect, protect, picture the cord, cut the cord, get assistance to cut the cord, do all the things, you know. I like to cord cut. But I've also done physical cord cutting ceremonies with one of my teachers here in Vegas, Danielle Garcia, where she'll have you have 2 candles, have the string tied to each candle, light the candles, and you'll see the flame burn out the cord. And you have like salt around it too, which is a nice, powerful way to do it, to have like a
physical,
something physical,
vehicle to let the energy kind of snap out from.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Zach Bagan's haunted mansion, and
Oof.
they have
No.
this Pandora's box that he put in. This was not my idea, by the way. I did not want to go on this trip. They already. The tickets were already bought for me, and I was like, and I looked at who I was going with, and I was like, this was your idea. You let them talk to me, like you know, like. I connect with energy and well enough without having to go to a haunted mansion. They had this box in there that was like, it was some kind of Pandora's box. I wish I remember the name of it. I think that Post Malone did something with this box, and they had like accidents that happened after this box. This box, they have it inside of this plexiglass, so you can see through it, but it's all protected. And then they have sage wrapped all the way around the box. Like they did all the things that they could do to make this box, like keep this energy clean coming out of this box. It's like some kind of spooky haunted box. But when you talked about the salt, that's they had salt around there too. Like that was another one that I was like, dude, there's some.
I like to use.
There's some power within. Like I don't know all the I just heard recently like spelling. Is spelling, it's spells. You're making spells, like witch spells, stuff like that. That's spelling. Your words have power. All this. It's like, and all these rituals that I didn't understand until I got into my spiritual side of things to even open my eyes to. It's like, man, there's so much going on. There's so many ways to keep your energy protected, and there's so many ways to like leave yourself.
And then there's fine lines in between or gray areas where it's like you can really get lost or go slippery slope to the other side. And I always stayed away from anything witchy for so long until I started getting into like a few of the ceremonies. I'm like, okay, some of this resonates with me, like using salt for clearing items and things, it works for me, and cord cutting to me works for me. But I've met people posing as white witches that have done crazy shit, and where it turned into some really, not to me personally, but to my family, my brother and different stuff, where it's had to be like
exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise.
You got to exercise.
And so like I'm I'm definitely open to more, but I always have to like do that gut check to make sure it's on the side I want to be on of things.
Good thing to remember.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I just want to like drop in there that like Alethea, I used to call her my guru for a long time when I met her at the Hard Rock, and it was because anytime I was questioning something or I was thinking about something personal that, you know, might have been conflicting to me, or like, where am I? I was kind of a bit lost on that part of my journey. I wasn't lost, but I was really transitioning. I was like, my whole journey grew to where then we kind of disconnected for a long while and then reconnected really hard. But I would always call her my guru because she had this amazing ability to be such a crystal clear mirror, such a crystal clear, like a pool of water that I would look in, where I was just really able to see my reflection in her. And maybe because we had a lot in common, but I feel like she's able to do that for a lot of different people, which is why a lot of people are attracted to her. And you talked about her being that beacon of light. Like, I immediately saw that with her, and so did Ian, her husband now. We both clearly saw her as this beacon of light, where a lot of us are connecting through her and because of her. So she's always been this angel, this, you've always had this amazing presence and gift about you, and so it's not any wonder that your life, you're so connected with Spirit and Source. It's no wonder, and there's always so much to learn from her too. We're getting juicy. We're getting juicy.
Thank you, Dana.
And we like the laughter, and we like the love, and but it's all, I felt like DJ had something to.
No, well, I'm trying to think so we're gonna cut this out. I'm trying to think. Trying to think of questions that I'd written down on my phone.
I still want to know like where, like what entered you into massage school, like what brought you into that.
There's
world,
that.
to like
to
put your hands on people.
There's so many aspects of everything.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, so wow, I really went off the deep end.
No, you went exactly where we wanted to go.
Okay,
but I'm so curious.
We know your grandma's fine, and that accident had to happen, and you guys have long lives to live.
Yes.
That was important to get
out.
That's
a huge
We need to know
message.
there's going to be a long life.
That was important to get out. But so I
amazing.
had that car accident, and then after the accident, I started receiving massage for some back trouble and everything, and I was like, really felt like, because it was regular massage, I really felt like the difference, and I'm like, wow, that's so interesting how it's helping me, you know. And I was always the girl at like the get-togethers, the parties, whatever. I had my hands on people's backs, and I was giving them back massages all the time. That was just who I was. And I had a friend in high school whose mom was a really amazing massage therapist. She still is. And he and I, when we were like 16, 17, our plan was to get out of high school and go to massage school together. That was my plan. And we ended up not doing that. I ended up going to Virginia Tech on like an engineering thing for a semester.
You as an engineer.
Yeah.
Well, you do have that brain too, because you are good with the production. You are the webmaster, like he is too. Like you guys are real good. You're great with tech. You're great with production.
Yeah.
You're great with that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it might have worked, but I was, you know, I just, things went down with like my roommate. It got crazy. I dropped out of school. I just couldn't do it. My classes had like 500 people in them. And when I got out, my ex-boyfriend at the time was moving down to North Carolina for college, and I was like, there's a massage school down there. I'm going to go. So I signed up and went to massage school. And that was in 1999. And there was like 15 people in my school. It was the biggest class they ever had. And I had like amazing teachers. But I just always wanted to do massage.
That's who you are.
It never was not a thing with me. Like I always was rubbing people. I always touching people, and always wanted to do it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I never knew that. So I was like, I really want to know that right
Yeah.
now.
And then, so sound healing, when did you get when did you start to recognize how powerful sound was for you and start actually incorporating that into your work?
I had been on like several meditations throughout my life that used sound healing, but I always relaxed and I loved it, but I never felt like, oh my God, I have to do that. But my brother, one of my brothers, lived in Las Vegas. His name's Marty. He's only 15 months older than me, so we're like Irish twins and very good friends. And he's just, we can like talk like we talk. It's just cosmic
I love
all the
Marty.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
100%.
So he was in Vegas with me for many years. I got to have him here, and he got really into this crystal singing bowls, and so he started buying them. And he started doing like meditation stuff with them with me, and then I started taking some classes at a Kundalini yoga studio here, which would utilize the gongs, which were really amazing. And then my brother and I teamed up, and for about 2 years we were doing treatments on people where I would do a massage and he would do an energy clearing at the same time, and he would bring in buffalo drums and singing bowls, and I just got to like feel that in a session with people. And I thought it was amazing. And then most, like, in the last, like, 6-7 years, my recent ex-boyfriend's mom, who I love dearly, her name is Sally, she took a vibrational sound healing class where she wanted to practice her treatment on me. And they use Tibetan bowls, which are the metal ones. And they place them on your body throughout the treatment, and you just get to lay there and feel the vibrations. And I was like, this is where it's at. This is it. So when COVID happened, you know, my brother had sold me a couple bowls. I had like a sacral bowl that was nice and flat at the bottom that I had used for a while on people's sacral area that felt really good and everything. And then when COVID happened and I started thinking about having my own massage place, I was like, I need to get a set and like I just need to create like a treatment that goes up through the whole chakra system and moves it, and we do energy work and massage at the same time. So I bought the whole set. This is the heart chakra bowl from that set. And then I started just playing around and practicing with them and working to use them in massages. And, you know, for a while I was like not doing it on everybody, or like, oh, maybe the people will feel weird about it, or, you know, and then people would be I
didn't get the singing bowl treatment.
And people would be like, so what about these bowls? You know, and start asking me. So it progressed to the point where like I'm just starting to use them all the time, you know, and people, my clients are just like, oh my God, you know, I've had so many people just sobbing in my arms after sessions, and like I didn't know they needed that, you know, and like they just provide like a next level to like energy work. I think that they're really awesome.
I've been, and we don't have to go down rabbit holes, but that's been one of my rabbit holes. Is sound, because so before I used to think, and this is based on what I read, is that an atom, you know, building blocks of life, an atom is 99.95% empty and has just a tiny bit of matter in it. Well, that's not actually true. An atom isn't actually, there's not matter in it. It's like there's neutrons, there's proton, and what it's doing is what you have is like something in there that's better described as a vibration. It's something that's just kind of wiggling around. It's not really matter. And if, you know, that's basically vibration. You know, vibration, sound is vibration. And it's like that, if that's the building blocks of life. If sound is vibration is the building blocks of life. And that's what's inside the atom. It only makes sense that stuff like singing bowls and sound healing, like that's the rabbit hole that I've been deep down is because I like, how much healing can we do with just how much out of vibrational tone is our body, and that's where our problems are at. You know what I mean?
I'm like raising my hand because like I want to talk about that too. I just had this amazing experience.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So our friend Cody, you know, who's an athlete and a healer himself, he has this acoustic sound lounge. And I went over to work on him recently with some body work and energy work, etc. And my back was out. And I told him, like, my back's been out. I was able to stretch it out a lot. So I was able to keep working and stand up. But he's like, oh, you got to try this acoustic sound lounge. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I got out, you know, so I had headphones. So it was music and it was vibration and hertz and it was free. So it was vibrating me with the sound frequency. And I was listening to it at the same time. And the most amazing unlocking of my back occurred. Like I was seeing it in my mind's eye. I saw my spine, I saw my hips, and I saw the spot that the issue was occurring, and I just saw it unlock.
Wow.
Like this. It went in this shift, and I was like, wow. 75% better after that.
Wow.
Not only that, I went into this other meditation where I went through the light, I kind of left my body, crossed to the other side, met ancestor after ancestor after ancestor, my dad, several people, all the way to the beginning ancestor, then onto my starseed ancestors, backs, back through the lineage. And then at the end, and all these things occurred, right? And I also had an emotional release of tears and crying that I knew I needed before going into the sound healing. And it helped me access that grief that also needed to be unlocked from that back pain that was coming out, that I knew was in there, but it just wasn't coming out. So anyway, and at the very, when it was all complete and I was kind of sharing with him, he goes, do you want to know what that journey was called? Because you can use different journeys on the app. You can go through different sound journeys. And he said it was called Walking Each Other Home. I had to tell you that one, DJ, like pronto, couldn't I?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. You know what? Well, I was, I'm getting into theta healing. That's the other thing, the other rabbit hole that I'm pretty deep down right now. And theta healing is slowing your brainwave down into theta state. And the theta state it's a vibration. It's all, everything can be broken down to vibration, and it's like sound. That I mean, that is the building blocks. That makes so much sense why something like that. And that's, I'm curious, just how much more modality is that? How much more should we be using it? Like how much just out of frequency is our bodies? Versus I think diet plays a huge role, and that probably helps get us out of frequency. But it's like how much can getting your body back in frequency offset a shitty diet?
Yeah.
And then what if you get them both in tune? It's like, man, I'm curious, like just what the, how much vitality we can accomplish by just paying attention to these really, like, this seems archaic sound.
Yeah.
It's like when it's literally possibly the building block of life.
Yeah.
We ignore it largely.
It's pretty miraculous.
Yeah, I read another really interesting tidbit that your ear, if you were to look at color like on a computer, they have different color scales. So if you like, each color has its own code. Mm-hmm. Well, if you move the code by one number, your eye can't tell the difference between that. But if you were to do the same thing with sound and move it by one number, your ear can pick up the difference. So your ear is more attuned than your eyes. Yeah.
Wow.
We don't realize how much we count on sound.
Time check. 1:35. Time check.
Okay, so yeah, rabbit holes. So that's my rabbit hole. You guys got your rabbit holes? You guys want to?
Oh yeah, the current rabbit hole section. I like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little.
I like the current
rabbit hole segment.
So the last segment, my rabbit hole was the shamanic journey. Our other rabbit hole right now is kind of like, is there really these like darker entities that we're dealing with, for lack of a better term, demonic energies or just dark energies, and we know that they're one and the same at the end of the day, the yin yang, but at the same time it's feeling very real, that some of us are the higher we're expanding, it seems like the higher our vibration is getting, and the lighter we're feeling, and the more healing work we're doing with people with source, the more source that's coming through us, as more loving and more lighting beings. Also at the same time, the polarity is getting deeper and darker at the same time. So that's something we've both been experiencing, and I've been kind of interested in that whole thing. I've had experiences with clients on the massage table where, they're going through such a deep process that they're practically hanging off the table in contractions, and we were talking a little bit about the rebirthing the last episode too, but to the point where I truly felt like I was like, this feels like we're, and I don't know another term, but I might, but just quickly, it feels like an exorcism. And that was something I was never partook in, never studied. I wasn't religious. I just thought it was maybe a little wackadoo, even though I'm into metaphysics, until you're in a space with somebody where you're almost facilitating like an exorcism type thing. But as I said, also God put us in that position. So I must be able to handle it. So we're going with it. And so that's been my rabbit hole lately.
And it's so important. The protection aspect of that is so important, especially doing energy work on people. And, I've noticed too, the more that we're opening ourselves up, the more we may be susceptible. DJ went through something like that, which was crazy, and I think we all have been to some degree, jumped or...
I jumped.
Hitchhiker? Is that what I call it?
Yeah.
But it's something I also, when I was younger, was like, there's no dark evil, but it can't exist. The good cannot exist without it. There's always like a polarity to it. So I think being open also opens yourself up to everything.
Right.
So
all that is.
Like the protection is very important.
Yeah, being open to that idea. I mean, Alethea hit on. I had something, and I'll talk about it. It was over a year ago, about a year and a half ago now. I did bufo for the first time, which is 5-MeO-DMT. It's the secretion of the Sonoran desert toad, and you go through a ceremony. And I went through a ceremony, and I smoked bufo 2 times. The first time it was interesting. I honestly don't remember a lot of the journey itself. I remember more of the aftermath of the journey because it like had legs. It attached for whatever reason. So the first time I smoked it, I ended up getting sick. I just had some hape or some rape, and it's like a tobacco stuff. They'll shoot into your sinuses, they blow it in there, and it's meant to baseline you, to soothe you, to calm you, and so you can meditate. So I done that, and I drank some water. Well, as soon as I did the bufo, I purged, just threw it all up. And then I sat there for, I don't even know how long. Time didn't even make sense. I was there for 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever. Came out of it, was like a really beautiful experience. I remember it being very, I felt like I baselined. I was like, oh, this is just what it is to just be, to just exist. Like I didn't feel like my body was attached to me. It was just there. Then I came out of it, and there was somebody else that was going, so they took their turn. Then I came back and did my second turn. And at the end of my second turn, I got all these wild messages that were like, I didn't know how to make heads or tails of them. It was telling me there was like stuff in my life was going on. And without going too deep into the personal details, I'll just say it was unhinging for me. I came out of the ceremony, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. I walked out. I ended up walking outside, and I sat out there for the rest of like whatever the other person went and did their ceremony. I sat outside for the entire ceremony. And it was just like reeling, going through all this, like what was going on. And that night, I was in a VRBO, like I was out of town. I was in Arizona, and I was staying at these people's houses, and I had the worst wig out that I've ever had. I had, for lack of better words, I'll call it an attachment that like stuck with me through the ceremony. And part of when I talked to somebody after the fact, like I went through an exorcism. Where luckily somebody in my circle knew somebody that knew how to do this, and at some point I hope to have her on if she will she'll do it. But anyways, she was, so in going through what happened is I didn't close out the bufo ceremony, and quite possibly this is why this attachment was able to hang on. It's because maybe it worked its way in during the ceremony, and then because I went outside after and didn't stayed out there for the rest of it, and then they kind of finished things up, and I just got in my car and went home because I was so freaked out. So that might have been why this thing is able to attach, or it just may have been something different. Who knows? I don't understand any of it. But all I know is that night when I was in somebody's rented room, Airbnb, VRBO, whichever way that goes, there's other people there, and I'm having a complete freak out. Like in my mind is trying to tell me, hey, let's go jump in the water. Like there's this lake outside of this house. Let's go swimming and maybe drown ourselves.
Oh
like,
my God.
I mean, it was like evil. It was like I wanted me to kill myself. And it was like I was trying to remember things, and my memory would just like, as I was like, and I was freaking out. And I was like, I'm getting ready to call my daughter and tell her how much I love her. And then I'm chasing myself. I'd be like, one second I didn't want to tell my kid how much I love her, and then the next second I'm telling her, "Don't worry about me, I'm fine." And I'm just like, "Am I?" And I had this really internal battle going with myself, and then on top of that, trying to convince myself that maybe it's just time to off myself, and that if I had all these, my idea was if I was going to have this thing in my head chasing me around, like this is what it's like to lose your mind. I was like, if that's what this is like, I don't want any part of this.
Well, and think about how many suicides probably have entities involved in drugs and alcohol also open the door to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw you in that period, and immediately when I saw DJ, I was like, DJ's not himself. DJ has a hitchhiker.
Yeah, but I didn't recognize it. I was clueless to
it doesn't want
until,
you to either.
Until it made its appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And then it was, so I went through and I smoke weed fairly regularly. And I didn't smoke weed. I didn't have anything. I was drinking like dandelion root and there's a couple other herbs that the guy that I sit and do ayahuasca with, I called him up when I was freaking out. I was like, what do I do? And he's like, just clean your liver out. So he gave me some stuff to detox my liver with. I would do that for 10 days. And then I got connected with this lady that did this exorcism. And lo and behold, after 2 sessions, 3.5 hours of work, like I was able to, I felt free of this thing, and it hasn't been back. But I'm telling you, ever since then, I didn't know what bad energy or what evil energy was. I believe in it now, and I take serious steps to make sure that I have myself covered from an energy perspective.
Yeah.
So things,
and when you're more aware of it, you can also get little like, oh shit, like that's that. Okay, like I need to recognize that's not me. And like, and it's like a kind of a maintenance thing. That's why cord cutting is really important, and like, because it's a constant cleanup of energy, and it's real.
Yeah, I fought with my own self for like, it went on for like 3.5 or 4 hours, where I was scared of myself. I was scared, and the longer that I sat in one spot, it would just like take over my thoughts. And the next thing you know, it's like I had to stay busy. I'm walking around. I mean, I stayed up until like 3:30 in the morning. I'm cleaning my car outside, and then like at midnight or something, the people that I'm staying with, they're looking outside like, what's he doing out there? I'm like, oh my God, this looks so crazy. And it was. I was literally like, as far as I was concerned, that night I lost my mind. I didn't know what that was. And I was happy to come out of it. It freaked me out. So yeah, I believe deeply in that stuff, and it's been very real for me. It's definitely in my belief system.
We've been on the same rabbit hole. So my rabbit hole was also the demon thing, because we've been talking about it, man. It's been coming up. Yeah.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
If it's coming up for us, it's probably coming up for others. So
that and just the manifesting.
So what have you? Let's since demons have been on the table, let's talk about like, what are you guys doing to protect yourself? Because this isn't something current for me. This was over a year and a half ago for me. And since then, I do things like what I do before I work with anybody or do any of my own work is I circle myself. I call it a circle of protection. Something my mom taught me when I was a kid, the white light of protection. I've heard people say, ask Archangel Michael for a circle of protection. I've heard of many different things, but it's just, it's putting something around. That's what I do is I circle myself. Stones, I had a friend of mine that actually bought me after that incident, bought me a rock that's specifically, it's a I don't know which one it was.
Is it black?
It's black. Yeah.
Tourmaline?
Tourmaline, yes. They bought me a tourmaline rock specifically for energy. And so my belief system, like I didn't understand crystals, I didn't understand rocks. So it's not that I don't believe it works. I didn't know anything about it. So somebody gave it to me. Every time that I'm doing any kind of work like that, I always put the necklace on. And I wear it around most of the time anyways. But yeah, those are the things that I've learned to do to protect my energy. What do you guys do to protect your energy?
Tourmaline is awesome. Crystals are great. Also agree with white light. Setting intention before connecting with people. And then if I recognize signs of it in other people, I just completely disassociate and just say a thing with myself that it's not mine. It's not my energy. None of this, like, all of my energy comes from me, and I'm not taking on anybody else's, because you're always going to deal with it, and there's going to be people around you that are dealing with it, but they don't know that it's happening to them, and the energy doesn't want you to confront it. It wants to be fed.
Yeah, definitely, and you can observing consciousness. You can observe, and this is something that I've had to teach myself, is to not to get so engaged in other people's bullshit, right? Yeah. I don't need drama in my life. I've worked to get the drama out of my life, and I don't need to go looking for other people's drama. So that's where acceptance without judgment, that pure love idea. If you just like acceptance without judgment of whatever you see, it's their journey. If you don't want to be a part of it, distance yourself, just like you were saying.
It's funny
set intention to move yourself away.
Oh yeah, and it's just like, it's hilarious because we all. I mean, I just want everybody to know that we are not perfect. So it's like, these are all like the tools, and then you'll get around the people that are like closest to you, and you're like, fuck, like I'm doing it. So it's just it's like a maintenance thing. You got to catch yourself and be like,
just when you think you got it, it's like right back in your face. You're like, is there another level again? Can I just be done with this part?
So it's like recognizing it over and over, and just keep trying. Just keep repeating to yourself those things, and moving back to that place.
Yeah, I'm gonna say same. Yeah, same with all those tools.
I don't know that acceptance without judgment works on demons. I didn't have a lot of acceptance without judgment on my particular guy. I was a little pissed at him, but and I have to say with some honesty, so this is what the lady told me when she was helping me. She said, I want you to look up Spanish conquistadors And she said that like this is something to do with what this attachment is and whatever this thing's plight was or whatever it's going through, and it's like this energy. And it's, you know, I've for myself, I've had ghosts and stuff like that, and I've talked a little bit about that, but it's like I've had energy in my life all of my life, and this thing is like something like that. It's stuck. It's like in this space, like for some reason it didn't, like we're in this human form and it's like in this different form. And I would love at some point to understand more about how that works, like why do entities get stuck, things like that. But
yeah, they attract to your light a lot of the times, you know, a lot of the times they do, you know, or sometimes they are just trying to manipulate someone else so they can feel through them and experience through them. And that's why I loved Godfrey's work so much too, as he does clear, as he does body work and energy work, clear any gray black energies, and we simply send them into the light, thanking them for any wisdom, you know, cutting the cords and consciously, constantly consciously clearing that energy before it turns into an entity that can control anybody. Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, constant, like you're saying.
Constant maintenance.
Constant sage.
Well, how about we do a little singing bowl action and wrap this thing up? And thank you, Alethea. Any final thoughts from anybody?
Yeah.
I'm really excited you guys are doing this. I've been friends with both of you, and like I think this is gonna be really amazing, and all the insights from people and the friends you're gonna get on, it's gonna grow and expand and be amazing.
Awesome. I'm just seeing a big heart right now, and thank you to all our friends and family for being here and holding this space with us, hopefully listening to us. And where can we find you, Alethea? Like, how can we find you?
You can find GladiusTheShow.net and Massage by Alethea, and soon Sin City Strings.
Woo woo! And observingconsciousness.com. Love you all.
Yes.
Love to all.